Coming up next on the Inherited Podcast.
Trial and error. I think we're on the path that we should be on. I don't think we're ever off course. And if we are, I feel like you always revert back to where you originally supposed to be at. That's what I'm big on. I'm big on like, let's unravel the life trauma, the experiences, the choices, and get down to the root of who you are. Because like we're all in this to learn something.
Facts.
And so I think trial and error, like I can't expect for you to come out perfect. Like I can't. Healing's a daily process.
Yeah.
You're gonna be reminded. You're gonna have triggers. You're gonna have things that's going to come back up again. But now that you know what it looks like, you should be able to take those same tools and say, okay, I remember how this made me feel. Let me not go back down that rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? I know the outcome of that. You know what I'm saying? And so healing is more so taking what you have, basically picking up your cross and keep going. They just all talk, you know what I'm saying? I have people like close and even far, I hear them talking, but what are you actually doing? It just takes one step, and then you take one step, continue to take a step. And then when you look back, you realize the journey. But if you're just standing still, like with your hands underneath you, expecting for, I guess, a genie in a bottle to come and do something, like what work are you putting in?
Building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man. Building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man.
Yo, what's good? It's Sir Gage. You're now tuned to the Inherited Podcast. Once again, thank you guys for coming back week after week. And make sure you go to YouTube, Inherited Podcast. Hit the notification bell, like, comment, and subscribe. Also go to Instagram. Follow us on the Inherited Podcast page. And also download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you may get your podcast. But let's get right into this episode today. So we have another guest, Miss TaShayla Gomillion. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. They going well so far? And we had a little... not necessarily beef coming up in here, but we live today, huh?
We live. 2 live crew. One for me, one for you.
Oh yeah. So look, right, before I start, I love to do an icebreaker, you know, just to ask you a question. We both gonna answer it. You'll answer first, and I'll give you my answer, okay? So this is the question for today. Would you rather pick a path to mentor one person to greatness or influence 1,000 lives positively, and why?
That's a good topic. I feel like if you lead one, you'll lead many. And that's because like it only just takes one, and then that person will tell another person about you to want to follow along too. So I'll choose one person and make a real good impact, and then it'll lead the pack because they'll tell somebody else and it'll trickle.
So that was initially when I thought of this, my answer, because it's like, again, it was that same philosophy of all it takes is you change one person's life, job well done type situation. And I had thought, I was like, maybe I would impact or influence thousands just because those thousands could influence that next one person, and it's just multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. But it's kind of a double-edged sword to me, though.
I don't think it's double. I think we're so focused on the bigger, like, the large, just to count number, as far as like starting small and letting it build itself up. And realistically, like even with the podcast or music or anything, you don't start with a plethora of fans. You start with small, and then they'll put someone else on something like, hey, listen to this, or have you heard about this person? And as you build up that momentum, it builds the following. So I feel like let's not focus on the 1,000, let's focus on the one. Because when you impact the one, they'll actually have a truth about who you really are to tell them about you too. So I'm gonna choose the one.
Understood. So I guess we off the ends of the spectrum, but it's all good. It's all good. So what I love to do, right, on this pod, I just feel as if what we've gone through, our testimonies, our whether it's trauma, whatever we've been through, could be someone else's deliverance, or just that motivation to tell them, like, or just inspire them, say, hey, I see what she's going through, I see what he's going through, I'm dealing with it, or whether it's either something on a positive note or what they're doing, they may have wanted to be doing that same thing, and this could just get them to say, let me get started, right? So just take us back as far as you can, as far as your life, or how you grew up, just family, and just things of like, what kind of molded you to be the person you are today. So just take us back as far as you can and give us a little backstory of who you are.
So backstory, always, I guess, from the quote unquote beginning. I have stories about my mama telling me like I got kicked out of preschool being bad, but I think it was more so, I don't necessarily say bad. I think I was more expressive, and if I didn't feel heard, I would do a lot to be seen, to like make sure you hear me. So, what led me up to today was trial and error. I think we're on the path that we should be on. I don't think we're ever off course, and if we are, I feel like you always revert back to where you originally supposed to be at. And so for me, looking back, everything I went through, from foster care to my parents separating to the list of things go on, it brought me to understand me today. And I think most times, like, we get so caught up in life experience that we don't know how to keep going, to know like we can use that one day. And like today's podcast to talk about how we got over it to get to where we are. So, I mean, like I said, foster care, I've been molested, I've had an abortion. I'm pretty open to know, like, I'm not no better, I'm just different. And so once we gravitate towards the different is when you see outcome.
So with what she went through, right? 'Cause it's seemed as if my last guest said this, my last three, it's, of course we know it's kind of not a trend, but growing up without parents in a household, or saying they are divorced, going through that and going through all your other trials and tribulations, how did you overcome it from a mental aspect? Like, what steps did you take, and how did you just sit down and eat that stuff and get over it?
The greatest people in the Bible came from a crazy family. Like,
Facts.
we want perfect. Like, we're so striving for perfect, but if you break it down, even Jesus' story, like his mama, like they was like, what? Yo, dad, like, you know, they didn't believe him in his story. So I think we get so caught up in our parents that we forget about ourselves. And our parents are learning too. So like, as in my grown age, I realized, like, give my parents grace. When they had me, they were learning, and we're still learning. And so we get so caught up in like not forgiving our mom or our dad or our step parents based upon how they treated us in their now. But imagine life today in our grown age with that many kids or whatever the case may be, trying to navigate. I can see why they told us to go to our room sometimes. It wasn't the right thing to do, but they needed some silence too. So we got to just give grace to know, like, if you take where you are now and your parents at that same age with their kids, imagine life with a lower rate of income, like so many more, you know what I'm saying? So many more breakdowns to realize, like, they did the best they could.
And I think that's like, that's been the topic of the day, because that the same thing as far as giving grace and forgiveness. Like, it's for myself, as I got older, I had to understand, like, as a kid, of course, we're just so free thinking and just so imaginative. We don't know what's really going on in the real world. But on the flip side, but you do have some parents who may be just horrible parents, but some, they're doing the best they can, but we would just never know because we're just children. So it was just like, knowing that I had to, one, try to have those talks with my parents when I got older, as far as like, why did we go through this and that, the X, Y, and Z, but also to know that learning how to extend grace to others, right? Just knowing they did the best they could, or the best with the resources that they had. So let's not try to just hold that against them and just say, oh, you messed up my life and you're the reason why I am today, or y'all strifes and struggles just led me to a path of destruction. So just learning that it can be, everything can want to be worked on, talked about, and healed through proper communication and those processes of getting over things. So that topic of extending grace is pretty much the main thing as far as healing from that. So,
but you got to ask yourself at some point, if someone held me up to what I did to them 5 years ago, how would you feel?
Yeah,
and it's like, even in relationships, like when you have a spouse and they constantly bring up the past or anything, you be like, gosh, like, I'm trying to grow, but you keep accounting me from what already happened. Like, I'm sorry, let's move forward, let's fix it, let's find a solution. And so that's what I'm big on. I'm big on, like, let's unravel the life trauma, the experiences, the choices, and get down to the root of who you are. Because, like, we're all in this to learn something.
Facts.
And so I think trial and error, like, I can't expect for you to come out perfect. Like, I can't. And so I think it's practice, even when it's like an artist painting, like they practice to get to that perfect. And then they're still critiquing their art. You may see perfect, but they be like, oh, I could have did this better, could have said, you know, whatever that is. And so I'm just big on, like, my mom, I tell her all the time, like, I think she don't forgive herself more than I forgave her. And I'm like, I went through it, like, forgive you. You know what I'm saying? I'm over it. Like, let's move on. And I'm ready to see more of what's to come than what already is.
You saying as far as with y'all relationship as mother and daughter?
For sure.
So how's that process been, like, working through it? Has it been just total difficult, or is it like been just one ongoing process?
it's a constant reminder to let her know, like, I forgive you. Because some people need that reminder. Like, sometimes you need to be reminded, like, you're forgiven. You know what I'm saying? And so to constantly remind, like, I'm not there anymore, like, you're forgiven. Because some people opposite of me may continue to remind her of what her mess ups were to make her feel like I'm still stuck in what was. You know, and some people can't live with the outcome of their life because they realize my outcome is it was my choices. You know, so today's time, like, whatever I do today, I'm gonna have to live with that choice. Like, not you, not anybody else but me. So if I choose the wrong person, the wrong career, anything, I have to live with that until I make the decision to change or move about a different way.
And I think we all be honestly be better people that way. That's like being self-aware of blaming people is not going to help you at all. Like, but just knowing that if I'm self-aware of knowing what happened, and if I can get past it, also so can you. And also, like you saying, you letting her know, hey, I forgive you. That will help her just have that healing light inside of her body to know that, okay, maybe whatever may have transpired in the past, it's not as bad as it seems today in my life. So I should be able to open up and connect with my daughter and say, hey, let's try to move past this and try to build our relationship. Because it's very important for one to heal from that. That's how generational traumas get passed down. But it's good to know that you are doing what you need to do to try to stop that. So, but with having said that, what does healing look like to you? Like, that process, is it for just a form of prayer or meditation or going to counseling and therapy? Like, so what is just, when you come from such trauma, how does that look to heal from that, and what does it entails?
This may not answer your question, but my therapist once told me, like, close your eyes and go back to whatever memory that you want to remember and try to touch or pick up anything in that room. You'll realize, like, it's stuck there. The memory that you have of it, the details, the smell, the vision of it, you can't change anything about it. So healing basically means going back and getting the memory out of that room, because the person that hurt you ain't in the room no more. Like, nothing's there besides the print of what happened. Go back in there and get the memory of it, and then take the memory with you as far as like a conversation. That's a part of healing, like taking it with you, not numbing yourself down to where you just existed, but feeling through the emotions and saying, okay, I did feel that way. It did piss me off. Like, that did hurt. You know what I'm saying? Or I did cry, or whatever that is. And then taking that into a lesson to say, okay, the next person who may come along, I'll try to prevent them from going through the same destruction or whatever it could have caused. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody wants to drink. So you take somebody to the well, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it's not caught up on an outcome. It's more so like healing is a daily process.
Yeah.
You're gonna be reminded. You're gonna have triggers. You're gonna have things that's going to come back up again. But now that you know what it looks like, you should be able to take those same tools and say, okay, I remember how this made me feel. Let me not go back down that rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? I know the outcome of that. You know what I'm saying? So healing is more so taking what you have, basically picking up your cross and keep going. When you set it down and you're in that situation, realize it's just a moment. Like, everything expires. Everything.
That's
the decade, the trend, the fashion, restaurants, everything expires. You know what I'm saying? So enjoy it while it's here, but be adaptable to be able to adjust and change to go forward.
So at what point in your life, though, did it click in your head to say, let me start this process of forgiveness, and let me start my process of like self-healing, and also just to heal myself to help others? So when did that actually just take into place? I'm pretty sure once all this stuff was happening, I'm not saying sure, you could have been going through a state of either depression, anxiety, or just a whole state of just anger of what's happened to you and blaming the world. So when did you feel like, okay, enough is enough? Let me step up for myself and just work on me to try to feel better as a person?
Honestly, as a teenager, I could not stand hearing adults constantly complain about the same thing, but watching them not do anything about it. Like, I don't care if you're my auntie, my mama, my teacher, if you always nagging and just complaining, well, what you gonna do?
Facts.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you mad about the house being dirty? Get up and clean it. You know what I'm saying? It's not towards my mama, because I didn't live with her all my life, you know, but anybody, like, you constantly complaining, but what are you doing? So many folks talk. They just all talk. You know what I'm saying? I have people like close and even far, I hear them talking, but what are you actually doing? It just takes one step. And then you take one step, continue to take a step. And then when you look back, you realize the journey. But if you're just standing still, like with your hands underneath you, expecting for, I guess, a genie in a bottle to come and do something, like what work are you putting in? And so for me, it was at the young age of like realizing, y'all just talking, like y'all nagging. So I made it a strive, like, even if I just can't stay here. Like I don't even want to look back and be like, dang, I'm 50 talking about my high school experience.
Yeah.
Come on. And people are doing that today. They talking about college like, oh, back in the day. Okay, that's
What are you
30
doing
years
now?
ago.
Yeah.
Like, you old unk on the porch. Like, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we keep going back to have the same repetitive conversation. But what's the change?
Facts.
Even you dress the same. Like, come on. Like, you ain't think about...
Yeah, living in the past pretty much does nothing for no one. It's like you can reminisce or you can go back and say whatever happened, learn from those mistakes and get those lessons learned from that. But just staying there just leads to an area of stagnation, of no process, no progression for nobody. So it's like, why would you want to sit there and just be that person of a shoulda, coulda, woulda, or
Exactly.
I wish this would have happened? Because I just feel as if like a slogan, it starts with you, right? Like, no matter what has happened in your past, no matter what mom did, dad did, friends did, whomever, yes, it may has happened. Yes, you can acknowledge it, but today in your adult age, when you're aware, you got to make those changes. Nobody else gonna do it for you. You can't just sit there and living and dwell in that space of sadness and anger, but it starts with you to change the trajectory of your whole bloodline. Like you're hurt, but you have the tools, you have the resources, especially in 2024. Like it's a plethora of things that help you progress yourself and move yourself forward. So dwelling back then is just a disservice, one, to yourself, and if you have kids, especially to them, because you're not teaching them how to heal, to get past and move forward. So dwelling back then, I agree with you that it's just a horrible thing to do. So I would.
Some people don't want a resolution. They want an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, some people don't want the resolution. Like, you can talk to them and give them the whole blueprint. You could tell them, like, you can literally tell them, if you go to such and such, you meet them there. They're already there for you. But they don't want that. They want an excuse. Because they realize they get more attention and an excuse. Like, everyone got a sob story. Everybody. But if you want to use that same excuse of why you can't do it, of course you can't. Because that's what you've already put in your mind. Like, that's your excuse. And it's better to be lazy in your excuse than put in the work with the resolution.
So what do you think is holding people back like that? You
Excuses.
think it's just the excuses and not want to do the work?
Lazy. Oh, I'm tired. We all are.
Yeah.
But you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, you want to work for yourself, but you can't get up and do nothing for an hour. Like, you can't say to myself, after working a 9-to-5 job, let me give myself an extra hour to do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Until I can get pulled out of the job. Because when you be an entrepreneur, let's be honest, you got to make yourself get up. No one's like, you have no boss calling you, telling you on your last final warning of being late. You have to make yourself get up. And most people realize the glams of social media and what they're portraying. Because now, let's be real, everyone got a camera up recording themselves get out the bed. Like, you had to get up to put the camera there to get out of bed. Man, but that's the reality of what we're living in. Like, if we're not being real with the people, letting them know, like, I set that up to build the content because I know y'all gonna eat it up. Yeah. Like, let's be honest. And so, but I still had to get out of bed to do it. Like, y'all just think I'm just going to wake up and the camera going to be there. Yeah. And so I think that's the problem. People don't want to do the work. Like, they don't want to do the work. They'd rather watch you do it, talk and gossip about what you're doing, or follow your trend or your wave. But they don't realize, until I move, you can't talk. Facts. So if you feeding off of me, you don't have to wait till I'm ready. Facts. So when you move in silence, it avoids that conversation to where they can't get the clout off of you. Most clout come from you talking too much. Shut up. Do the work. Oh, well, you speaking facts, for real. No, it's the truth. And I had to learn myself on an entrepreneurial journey, right? There was a point in time where, of course, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I had to do, but I would get stuck in these phases of when I get hooked on either a person or a book or whatever that's giving me information. I just want to eat it up. But I keep forgetting, like, once you get this stuff, you got to apply it and do the work. But this is always within an excuse of, there's more information that I need before I got to get started. There's more that I got to consume before I can really apply to what's going on in life. That goes back to perfect. Yeah. That goes back to perfect. Yep. Like, everyone wants the blueprint. Have you ever realized that every ebook or everything that someone's doing, and I'm not knocking any social media, anything, you know what I'm saying? Do your thing. It works for people. And some people, they know, like, they're going to buy it and do nothing with it. So it's free money to them. So keep doing what you're doing. But have you ever realized that people's ebook is what God told them to do? Yeah. What God has me doing, I can try to do it like you, but it's not going to look the same. And now I get mad and I stop. Most people stop doing whatever they're working on because it doesn't look like the result of someone else. Yeah. their overnight success was never overnight. You just didn't see it all.
You didn't see none of that hard
But all
work.
you saw was out of nowhere, they just blew up. You didn't see how much denials, how many no's, how many start overs on the camera, like nothing recorded, start again. You didn't see all that. I used to run track, and I remember in one track meet in middle school, the gunfire came off at the wrong time. I remember running my hardest for them to call me back to do it again.
Oh man.
Of course, like you don't have it all in you anymore, but
Yeah.
people don't see that, like how much it took to keep going even when you're tired. Like they think, oh, it's just all put together. I want to ride her wave. Let me be her friend. Let me be his friend. Like you don't know what it means to like sweep these floors, like
that's
be the
a fact.
janitor and
Yep.
then be the CEO. You don't know what that means.
Because you got to start somewhere to get there to that top. And it's like you say, they don't want to. Everybody just want to romanticize on the glitz and the glams and I got these followers or this car, this watch, this and that. But I mean, some people they're putting on for that stuff and they really don't even have a come up journey or story of where I put in work. Some folks really just, I know how to make this stuff look good. I'm gonna put it out just to see if is it gonna work. Is somebody gonna bite on to see if it's gonna work. But again, the average person, it's real deal work being put in to get to no matter where they're at, not just from their business, but mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Like it takes a lot to be someone and walking into your purpose, right? So, but speaking of walking into your purpose, I know you had told me that you do podcasts as well, and you said that come about, that's an assignment from God, right? So what was that process, and when did you hear that message like, look, this is what you need to be doing, even though you weren't comfortable doing it, you may have been nervous doing it, so what was that moment for you, and how did you just submit to that yes and just say, I'm about to jump into it?
I didn't think I just jumped into it. I think it was me like looking for answers in podcasts and like, because I don't watch television. And if I do, everyone who knows me knows like I'm bound to go to sleep or I'm bound to move on. It doesn't, like, that's idle. That's idle time. Like, what are we doing? Like watching someone else's lights, camera, action, and it pulls you in and makes sure it's real. Like reality TV is not reality.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. And so I'm not interested in it, in movie, any of that. So I was looking for answers. Like, God, like I was stuck in it. I say stuck in that moment, but I was like, God, I don't want to do nothing. Like until I get an answer from you, I don't want to do nothing. So I started watching YouTube and listening to podcasts, and I'm like, they're not being real. Like they're still layered up in what the people want to hear. So God was like, well, why don't you do it? Like you got so much to say about what they're doing. Why don't you do it? And so I was like, nah. So I kept talking my junk like, turn it off. I don't want to hear it. Because I couldn't connect with like many of podcasts. Because it was like, come on, let's get to the real of what really is really happening. And so one day I was talking to one of my homeboys, and he was like, you're always talking about authenticity, like how to be authentic in a world that's trying to mold you up to be what fits into their category. Like, talk about it. And so I shout out a few different names, and I'm like, the authentic exchange. Like, what does it mean to unlayer from all these titles without the podcast, the title of a mom, girlfriend, whatever you are? Like, when you take all that away, who are you?
Yeah.
Because most folks, you realize in conversations, they hide behind their children, they hide behind their job, they hide behind their success. They never tell you who they are outside of all of that. Like, and being real and saying like, I had a bad day, I'm running late.
Yeah.
Like, and telling people the real truth of it all and getting down to the core of it. So when you heal the core, everything else blooms. Like, so that's pretty much how the podcast came about.
And just based off what you said about being authentic, and that's why I'm trying to build a platform I'm building, because it's just when I first started podcasting, I did my first pod like towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. But it's always have been just as a foundation of business owners, entrepreneurs, and this and that. But some guests, they gave some fluff. Some guests, they was real about what's going on. But it's then as podcasting, it's already been out, but as it grew in my world, I kept seeing it's the putting the man versus the woman, tearing each other down, this and that. Oh, is it real good to go 50-50? And it's just like, how long are we going to keep talking about this and not trying to provide any kind of value for people, right? And I also feel as if it's up to us, either whether we do have kids now or later, we're blessed to have them or not, or we just have a niece, nephew, little cousin. We got to build a foundation or something for them to learn from, to grow. Because right now, where the world is going, a lot of the youth are lost in the sauce and they going down the drain deep, right? But with all this noise that's out here on social media, it's not helping them at all. So how can I step in and say, hey, whether it may not be the most attention grabbing topics or the most popular thing, but just giving somebody some value to at least like that one person, that's gonna work out better than just talking about the, like I said, the rah this and that, because it doesn't bring not one drop of value to anybody. I can't stand it. Like,
But you got to quit worrying about them.
no, that's a fact.
That's what I talk about my podcast. Like God told me, well, what are you doing? Like you got so much to say about what they're doing and what they're doing wrong. Do something different. We're so focused on someone else's lane. That's why there's traffic.
True.
That's why there's traffic. Like if you focus on your lane, your car, who cares what they're doing? Yeah, have a little defense in your drive so they're not steering in your lane. But when you're focused on your lane, you can protect where you're going. It's when we get drifted off to look at what they're doing that now we're trying to mimic what they're doing or do better than them or be a step ahead when it's chess, not checkers. Checkers, you have to, when they move, you have to move too. Chess, you set up the board. They doing all this extra blah blah blah, and you finally making your moves to take their most valuable piece. And so when you get to letting go of what they like, what you are in competition with, there's no competition, and that's the opposite of what the world is teaching us.
Yeah.
Like, what's your competitors doing? If you're doing what you know is true, you'll gravitate. That one will add on to 3. And then 10, and then 10,000. Like even in the Bible of Jesus, he did his small meetings until they told other people. He never broadcast, "Hey, go tell them I'm meeting at such and such." He never announced where he was going. But because someone wanted to know, they kept following him and kept following him and kept following him to where it built up to where it is today. And people are still following based upon someone who ain't even here no more. Yeah. Like they're like, he's still here. Don't get me wrong. Like he's still Holy Spirit, but he's not physically where we can go meet him at the lake or at the well.
Thing.
You know what I'm saying? And so when we get caught up in other people's lanes, of course, that's how you know, it's not meant to merge. You're only supposed to merge into one lane when you're marrying. That's why 2 become 1. Yeah. You're merging. But we're merging in the wrong direction.
I understood that.
So when you focus on yourself and you do what, like, you know, like, I don't like that, I need to meet. When you make out your blueprint that God's put it in your heart, that's how you build your audience.
So how has that journey been for you? Now that you started your podcast and you got that assignment and you say, okay, this is what I'm doing, how's it been so far?
I made an excuse. So I'm gonna be honest, we ain't gonna cut through the chase. Yeah, like what's the fluff for? No, but I started my podcast like God told me. I got sick. And I knew it was spiritual sickness. I say that or spiritual warfare, because I had pneumonia and no one around me got it. Like nobody. I remember going to my mom's house and being with my brother, sisters, nobody. Like not in the same house that I live in. Nobody got the pneumonia. I was at work before I got, literally I was at work the day before I went to the hospital with pneumonia. Nobody at my job got sick but me. So that I knew in that moment, it's spiritual warfare. Like it's a tactic for you to stop doing what you know is you're called to do. And that's what many people do. They stop. They start something, they always stop, because when something happens, it's like, what the heck? It's more a fight to keep going than it is to say, you know what? You got it.
It's easy
Let me
to
turn
quit.
around.
Yeah.
And so me constantly going like, you know what? Like, let's pick back up. And I think we had a conversation offline. Like, I'm still learning and giving grace. Like, we have to give grace and space to grow into who we're becoming. We're so tight with ourselves. Like, this is the goal. Here we are. We ain't got no type of space to grow into what we are looking for ourselves. And so for me, it was like, Shayla, slow down, pause, think, strategize, sit with yourself to make a true plan and not look or scroll for hours seeing what they're doing to try to top it. Like, sit with yourself. Make up your plan and execute it. And then when you execute it behind the scenes, no one knows your deadline, so only you know.
Facts.
And you in fight with yourself. So you mad at yourself when it's your own deadline, because if you don't announce it, no one can hold you to it.
That pressure.
Now, yes, you can have accountability. Of course, that's needed when you're just getting started, because you have no momentum or dedication in it. But letting everybody know your next move in chess, you would never. Yep. You would never. And most folks say, "Oh, chess, like play it, like let's play," because I can play. You know, I can play chess, and I had to realize like all of this is life is chess. You're quiet in a chess game. You're trying to think into their head, but you don't know what they're thinking. Yeah. But it's like checkmate.
That's why I always try to learn,
I can't see it, because you can't see it coming. Like you think you building it up, and they're like checkmate, and you have to stop everything you're doing on your board to move that king, because you know if you don't, you checkmate.
Mm-hmm.
Game over. So you have to stop everything you're doing to move because they went ahead of you. That's what chess is. And so with life, it's like play ahead.
Mm-hmm.
When you make your move, think 3 times steps ahead. Like, okay, he trying to, so let me, and go around it. And I know I'm probably talking gibberish to people who don't know, but
Oh, I'm about to say no.
level up. Like you gotta, like. But anyway.
But no, that's during my wait when I first started podcasting. When it was when 2020 came. Of course, that's when COVID hit, and I first started out in my house. I took one of my rooms, but the whole set, this and that. So I was going, thinking I was doing a thing, going. Then boom, here come. But post COVID, I got into a car accident, lost my car, so I couldn't move how I wanted to.
Right.
After that, I was like, well, the guests people are asking to come on is growing, but this is where I lay my head. So now I got a reason to quit. Then boom, here come COVID. So once COVID hit, nobody really coming to my crib now. But the sooner it was kind of being lifted, I seen everybody online doing the virtual podcast, doing this, doing that. So and that whole time I'm mad. Like, why am I not doing my pod? Why did my pod get stopped in X, Y, and Z? But since COVID, it had took me. God told me to shut up there was 3 whole years before I can come back. I had the capability to come back. I had the resources to come back, but for some reason, he was the reason. But then I didn't know until it was done. Yeah. It was like, shut up, grow as yourself as a person, and get closer to me. Because that's what I was missing out at that time. I was so focused on the now, the growth, the listeners, the downloads. But it was like, nope, don't say a word, don't get another guest, and this and that. But I learned through that time to be resilient. It built resilience. It built for me to not to be able to look at what somebody else got going on and comparing to what they have, and to steal my joy from them. So that moment was just it helped me learn God's voice more. It helped me get on my path to say, you know what, let me just get in my read the word more. Like at that time, and I also messed up trying to be all smart. But so I took the Bible and it was like, you know what, it was from Springfield Baptist Church. It was a Bible reading thing they had to where it had just every verse, scripture, in a little check box. So I said, I'm just going to read the Bible. But what I wasn't doing was trying to understand it. I just wanted to read it just to read. And I'm like, man, here we go again, just trying to do something to say you did it or this and that. But just going through all that just brought me to a place of, bro, slow down and do what you know you're supposed to do and do it right. So just learning how to journey with God, that was just a pivotal change and a blessing in my life for podcasts. Because now that I come back, the guests that I have is 10 times more authentic. The conversation is 10 times more valuable. It's just more than how did you build this and how did you make money off of building it and how can somebody else do it? Like it's deeper than that now. Like the purpose has grown so much. It's like if somebody don't come tomorrow or don't show up, I'm not tripping no more. I'm cool.
It's meant.
Yeah, he knows what he's
Thanks
doing.
Thanks for the block. Like shout out to you. Like no, for real. Sometimes we have to stop and say, we give the devil too much credit. First of all, the enemy. Like you don't never give your op in the street credit. It's an op. Why would I give you credit? But we give the devil credit. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And so, like what you said, people are so lost because they're it's the missing piece. Like everything has a source. Who are you connected to? If you're trying to plug into human beings, they're going to fail you because they drain out too. Yeah. Who you connected to, you have to plug in. So when you tap in with God and you really get on your hands and knees and pray, it's like, I may not show y'all what I'm doing behind the scenes, but that's why I can't be depleted. I can't run out. I can't stay anything because I'm recharged. It may take me a couple of days or a couple of months, but time silent doesn't mean that the whole thing, the device is gone and dead. Like time silent means I'm charging, and you better be careful when I come back because I'm charged. You know what I'm saying? And so I think more so now like that was the missing piece to your puzzle. It wasn't complete until you realize like I needed God, because now I have more discernment to say, oh, that's just rah-rah. They on the podcast to come in as a snake trying to get me off course or to use my platform to build
just
theirs.
For a look sometimes,
and sometimes people come in and they have a facade of who they are, and then you record them and then you realize, dang, it goes against all of my morals and principalities and what you know what I'm saying? And so it just all goes down to like, are you who you say you are? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And of course it's not my job to even to pick you apart, but like when you talk to somebody, they know when they're lying on the inside. Yeah. And people don't realize that like when you have God, it's like a discernment source. Like you can be like talking to somebody on a date, you can be like, BS.
It's that filter, man.
And I can smile and be like, BS. Or I can smile and be like, when I leave here, I'm going to block you. Because, and it's not like to be deceptive, but it's more so like people don't know. Like, you don't have to put on, I would say, be authentic in your relationship with God.
Yeah.
Don't put on to where you're better than, you're just different. God has no favorites. You're not exempt. He don't care who you are. There's no favorite to it. And so when you know that, you realize, like, I don't got to prove my relationship with him. I just got to prove with me and him, the relationship is pure.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So when you shut up for 3 years, you came back not only like recharged, but with strategy, with a plan, and with him, to where now y'all can walk together, and he can give you everything that the devil tried to trick you with.
I'm telling you, because it was tough, but I also grew more deep into fasting and prayer. Like when I say, well, the key thing is God changed my life, but sub that fasting, that's what did it for me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I had to learn.
Denying yourself.
When I first started fasting, it was okay. I fasted and I seen what I got from it, but still, I wasn't mature enough in that spiritual realm to know, like, don't fast to get that. Still fast to starve that flesh. Still fast to know, to learn how to say no to these worldly things. But when I learned that after the first one, it was like, man, it's something to this, right? And it grew me more and more and more, just to know, like, even with this space here, right? I was searching for a spot when I wanted to come back to podcasting. I didn't want to get out of my house at X, Y, and Z. I was searching, like, boom, went to one location. I had everything I needed, but it was like, nah. Then come to find out, a tenant who was there was like, man, you don't even want to come here. These other tenants on this block, they horrible. They do this and that. They everything be loud. So I'm like, cool. But it was time for me to fast. So I fasted. I came out of that fast. I came to this building next door to get a massage. So when I was leaving, the girl was like, it's more sweets in here. So I was like, for real? I said, I thought this was just corporate stuff for Bank of America or whatnot. She was like, nah, it's other room. So I said, okay, this is day one out of the fast. So I got a number to the guy. I called him. He was like, oh yeah, we can get you one within 3 to 4 days. He go to keys. I'm just like, man,
It's
what?
crazy, yeah.
So it's just and I love to tell my folks, it's starving your flesh. They think it's so, if it's your first time doing it, yes, it may be difficult, but once you do it more, like you do anything else, repetition helps you out. So once you do it more and more and more, one, it becomes easier, but you literally grow every single time. Like, and after every fast, I get some kind of revelation of, this is what it is. This is what this is supposed to be. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I can just still hear that voice a little bit clearer. So I'm trying to just stay on top of doing that also. But my life, it changed my life so much, man.
So ironically, fasting really is to starve your flesh, like, and make your flesh come into submission, like, to your being. And so many people's flesh overpower them. They're too emotional with movements, like, oh, and it's like, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Because we are humans, we're supposed to feel, but
Yeah.
I know people grown, let anger take over. Like, you don't got control over yourself. Like, that's an inner thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's inner. And so fasting really shuts up all things to make you realize, like, do I have control of myself? And you'll realize in the beginning you don't.
Yeah.
It has control over you. And what's funny is I actually work at Bank of America. And so when I pulled up in the building today, I was like, God, you're so funny, because he's been telling me I'm about to pull you out. So when I called you, I was like, is this the building of Bank of America? Because how ironic, like, you off work today, but you at Bank of America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how, so everything is strategic. Everything is like literally chess. It's like all set up. Like, where you are today is supposed to happen this way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever take it as, how people say, oh, I could have went this way, but you didn't. And you can only imagine what it could have ended up, but you're
Right.
not on that journey.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't speak to where the road could have been, because it was a dead end. That's why you're not on the road. You know what I'm saying? And whenever it's a dead end, you always get rerouted.
Yeah.
Like GPS. Like,
I was about to say, God, that
it's
GPS,
an
man.
inner GPS. Like, we don't see Wi-Fi. We don't see the direction ahead of us. We just trust our GPS.
Yeah.
And it reroutes us ahead of time. Like, when they see, like, when God see destruction, it's like the GPS reroutes. You don't get to even go up to and see it. And hopefully you follow the GPS. Like, people, I compare it to people right now without God. You driving not knowing that there's a whole crash with all lanes blocked.
Yeah.
But when you plug in with God, he'll detour you. Like, that's going to take you too long. Let's go this way. So I'm willing to plug in my GPS. Like, where we going?
And you got to, man.
How we
Just
doing?
That, leaning on that, I say leaning on that faith. That was one thing I had to learn too. Just knowing, you hear it all the time. believe in God, just had that faith. Faith the size of a mustard seed. You hear all this stuff in church growing up, but just now really understanding what that mean. Like previously, it was for the first time in my life to where I knew what that statement meant, but for the first time I felt what it was to know, like I had zero worries of how whatever was going to get fixed. It was just knowing, I don't know how, but it's just being patient in the wait and the win. And when I tell you, after that realization, it was just it's just peace. Like knowing like I'm not, what's the worry about? It's the fact that me and you talking right now, we've overcame everything we've been through in life. So why would it stop now? You know what I'm saying?
Unless
so
we stop it.
Getting our own way and doing stuff like that. So I'm just like, you know what? If I overcame one, the struggles in the military, two, growing up dang near piss poor, this and that, but I'm here today standing and still I'm not worrying. Of course, we all have our life stripes and struggles and whatnot, but it's just like I'm not homeless. I'm not going hungry. I got income coming in. So whatever you're going through now, why sit here and worry? Like you got to realize he kept you through all this stuff. So why you going back sitting here saying, I may not, I'm trust him half or this and that. So, but for the first time knowing what that felt like and not what it heard, what it sounded like, that it changed a lot. And that's in my grown age now. So that just shows the progression of that walk with God, why we got to always just sit there and nurture it, water it, put water in those seeds and keep going. But what I want to ask you is, what does your weight look like? And how did you get comfortable knowing, well, not knowing, but how did you get comfortable just being in that season of your life when it comes time to just wait on whatever it may be, whatever you're going through? Or if you have a prayer like, oh, I need this or that, like how do you sit in your weight?
So the world is teaching FOMO, fear of missing out. But it's like in New York, it's fast. Yeah. Right? And it's so fast to you if you're foreign to New York, but to them that's their speed. So when you just sit still and let things that you think is supposed to come pass you by, whatever is yours will never pass you up. It's there. Like, so when you let all that fast life slow down and you like realize like, dang, sitting in the moment, I realized that person stayed, that stayed, that's supposed to be here. Yeah. Why am I going to keep pushing what's been here away to gravitate to what's fast? It's on a fast destruction. I don't know where it's going, but I ain't trying to hop on it, you know? And road. Just sitting in and realize like they stayed. You know what I'm saying? I was quiet for 6 months, but my viewers never unsubscribed. They stayed. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And those who leave, okay, bye. Like stop chasing the those who are leaving. Like, oh, don't go nowhere. And celebrate, have a party with those who stayed. Yep.
They're gonna be there.
Jesus didn't go like the prodigal son. The dad didn't go chase the son. The son came back. Like God gonna be here when you come home, but I'm not gonna stop loving on the people who's here and let all go to come chase you. I'll be here when you come back. If you come back, it's a choice. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was more so realizing like, Shayla, slow down. What are you in a rush for? Because once you're complete on earth, guess what? Your assignment's up. So what are we rushing to?
Facts.
The tombstone to transition into eternity. Like, you know, like if you want to enjoy the life today, like enjoy it. We were so quick to live this fast life and then we're wondering why it's a fast ending. You rush through years of what lessons were. Like you rush through it and you expect, oh, my homie gone, but your homie lived a fast life. Yeah. He didn't stop or she didn't stop or we didn't stop to say, you know what? Okay, let's feel through this. Let's take a moment to see what's the texture of this. Oh, this is nice. Like now I realize the seasons. I once was so rushed like, oh, I hate winter. Let's go to the summer. But now I appreciate like, oh, okay, I need that little coolness. Get my skin back together. You know what I'm saying? Do a little song. You know what I'm saying? Let me get a little bare. Let me enjoy the weight on me. You know. And then now let's go. Let's shed it off again. And that's it's all lessons to realize like all this is going to come to an end. Every season comes to an end. But if you're patient enough, it picks back up again. Yeah. And so it's just knowing like it's all gonna come, but when it come again, like new blossoms. You know what I'm saying? Facts. And so don't be so quick to chop down a tree and count it dead. Like it can grow again. Like it's just in the season. And so for myself and other people, I realized like everything's a seed planted in us. What we see right now is the result of that. The seed. Like this is the fruit of what you've been putting in. People think it's a seed, but this is the fruit. Now, of course, you'll have seasons, but it'll keep growing, and then it'll be more, whether it's juicy or whatever it comes.
Yeah.
But people who have the result of like everything always is bad, it's because of the seeds you planted. Like, you never uprooted them, you never fasted to get it out of you, you never forgave. So now the result is, I'm doomed. Oh my God. Like, but that's the fruit. That's the result. It ain't the seed. Like, you're now seeing what you're holding is the result of what was.
Yeah.
So what we're doing today will be the result when we 5 years from now realizing, yeah, this may be a seed today, another seed planted, but look what it brought us. It'll be a fruit tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And so realizing like all this is strategically done. All of it. Like, it's all a part of it. The tree may seem bare today, but hold on.
Yeah.
It's like bamboo. I think bamboo grows underground for 2 years before it sprouts.
Yep.
And after it sprouts, I think it grows 20 something inches like a day. Like,
That's a crazy
every hour it's
fact,
like
bro.
2 inches or something. It's crazy, but it's like, hold on. Like, hold on.
Yeah, you got me thinking when you say as far as the seasons, how you appreciate them. I got there in some point because it's like usually you're saying why is it always raining, but once I understood like what's going on the earth when of course once it gets cold everything dies down. Then we get like now we getting sometimes so much rain. It's a purpose of replenishing what's been killed and it has to be watered again so it can, like you say, bloom and sprout in the spring and stuff like that. So having those connections and it's a connection. Having those connections and understanding some of what God's plan is for us, I think it'll take us a long way. But how can, in your opinion, how can someone try to get into the right mindset of let me go on this journey to get closer with God? Because I'm pretty sure, like I said, throughout your life, it hasn't always been there. And for myself, it hasn't always been there. Well, like I say, what did it for me was getting out of the military, not knowing, bro, what you about to do? Like, you was over here shooting rockets all day. You coming back to Decatur, Georgia. What you about to do with that? Like, you can't shoot no rockets. Like, the only place you can do that is in Oklahoma and Korea. So what are you doing? Like, I'm sitting out here lost, but knowing, getting baptized in, what was it, April 7th in 2017. Like, that was my first step of just saying, you know what? Let's just turn this new leaf of now that you're one. Because I was supposed to be in the military for what? My goal was do the 20, but gladly, I only had served.
I'm going to stop you right here.
What?
You don't realize it, but you in the military taught you discipline.
Facts, it did.
And I was in the military for 5 years.
Word?
Yeah, Army.
Dang.
But to
Drop
realize,
that,
but I don't
Jill.
got to talk about that because that was a part of the story. So I said I can go down any avenue. I'm not going to dwell there. If it ain't relative to the purpose, sometimes people want to bring up stuff to make it relevant. It ain't relevant. Like, next. And so it wasn't relevant at the time to share, but the military taught me discipline. How to present myself, how to shut up. And staying at attention to realize they may seem more powerful than you, but you may know more because now they need you to execute. So you learn so many different things. So you may have realized, what am I going to do now? But that taught you discipline. It taught you strategy. It taught you so many different things to where now you're using those same, you may not realize it, but you're using it.
Yeah.
I think the problem, and I'm going a little tangent, with school is the children don't know why they need what they're learning today. Like, if you don't tell them this type of math is for those in medical fields, focus more on it. But teachers are not showing that. It's like, oh, you need to do it. So, of course, students in their mind, because I used to be a student, realize, like, I don't need none of this. Like, this is blasphemy. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. You know how we all go on a tangent and what we think we know. But then we realize, like, when you go through, like, dang, I did need that. Like, my math today taught me business. But if no one's breaking it down to tell you this is why you need it in the long run, then you don't think you need none of it.
Demon is invaluable. Yeah.
You're like, oh, the students, school's a scam. It's a scam if you don't know how to properly like file that away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know now, like, if I want to avenue towards writing, pay attention to English.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you want to, and tell the kids and be authentic in them and let them know, like, not saying shut me or silence me out, but if you're gearing towards this, like, making the school systems relevant to what the kids want to do, because kids are our future.
Yeah.
Don't make them feel like all of it's useful, and then when they get out, they're like, they hate it. Show them early, if you like this, gravitate to learning more of this. You know what I'm saying? It's fundamental, but you need to know certain things more than other things. If we don't tell them that up front, then of course they're going to go through their whole high school experience and drop out of college because it's not making sense to them.
Yeah.
We're not teaching the people, we're not making it so simple to where it's like, that's why we need it. It
that
makes
was
sense.
my story. I just thought school, I hated school. Of course I did need to do the pass to get through. Of course your parents was like, don't come home with them bad grades and you get whippings and this and that and graduate, go to college. But school for me was just, I always thought, but besides the basic math, or if I was interested in like biology and stuff, it was like, bro, what is this? Like, I can't stand, like, what is the geometry and trigonometry? I'm not going to ever use this stuff. But when I went to college, dropped out, and then pursued my career again as an adult, I'm like, I understand what school is now. And once I got back into it, that stuff was a breeze to me. It was
But
just,
even with military, if you don't tell the people what to expect or why we're doing it, we're just existing. We're just doing in orders. And a lot of this, that's what life is right now. People are so secretive in the bigger picture. If you want somebody to be a part of the team, military, whatever, you have to put them on board of where we're going. Where are we going? It's like submitting into a job or submitting into a mission, submitting to a relationship. To submit, the sub part means to go under the mission of a person or a thing. So to submit to something, whether it's job, relationship, or anything, you have to go under it, meaning you have to follow it. And so if you're not telling me where we're going, I ain't going. I ain't submitting. And call me rebellious. I'm not doing it.
yeah.
And so the military, that's where we kind of, I say we because it's a whole thing, and you know, but we didn't get along because it's like, I'm not submitting to this because what are we doing? Make it make sense to me. You want me to trust you, but you ain't telling me a little bit where we're going.
Did you have a poor leadership while you was in the service?
I can count on whatever I wanted to, but the point is I wasn't submitting to it. That's
Yeah.
it. I ain't gonna put it on them. I ain't gonna point the finger on them. It was me. I didn't want to submit to it. It didn't make sense. And today it still don't. But hey,
What, saying as far as military?
the
Just
military don't make sense. The people don't want to hear that, but it don't
why
make
so?
sense.
Let's go down that hole real quick, just a little bit. Why you think it don't make sense?
It doesn't make sense because we're making soldiers feel like this is all they have. So when they get out of the military, they don't know what to do with their life. Half of them are homeless. And I'm not saying that in any regards as if I'm better, because I feel for them. Like, you mean to tell me you served 20 years and you are a veteran on the streets?
That don't make sense to me either. I agree with you on that 100%.
Y'all, we can go down a rabbit hole a lot, but the VA hospital, my grandfather passed away because they gave him misdiagnosed. But y'all are practicing that much medicine that y'all are pushing people to be a fast track doctor in the military when it takes us 20 years out here in the real world to be a doctor. But we can do it in how many years in the military? How? What's different? What education is different?
Facts. You got a point there.
And why the people, the civilians out here can't get the same fast track as people in the military? Because are we rushing through, what are we rushing to?
Yeah.
War?
That's their bottom line. And that's the thing I kind of don't agree
So let
with.
me just, that's what I said, I'm going down a rabbit hole because I can go there, but it's much more so I learned that I'm not submitting to this. This is chaos. It's chaos.
You cleared your whole contract or you got out early?
We ain't going to talk about it too much.
I feel all the same.
We ain't gonna talk about it too much, but I got my way of getting out.
Yeah, same. Man, you heard me say I did too. Out of my
I got my way of getting out.
Yeah.
You can't keep me bound.
Yeah.
I ain't a prisoner to you.
because I was over. It was to a point where I'm like, man, how we was being treated. It's like the discipline part, the being responsible, being accountable, like all that stuff was great. But outside of that, it was just like, bro, what is this? Like what? And I remember one day I was in my bunk. I was like, God, if I can just one of them same prayers, if I can just get back home and get me out of this, I'm gonna get my life right. Because it was just to the point to where.
But see, you forget that prayer. And then you realize when you got home, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
So many times we pray things and we forget what we prayed. And then we have to go through the process and we're like, why, God, why? And it's like, you forgot that you asked me to take you from here to here.
Facts. And
And from the here to here, there's a whole in between. So the in between is pruning. I'm getting rid of what was and what shouldn't have been to get you to where I need you to be. We get so caught up in the process that we forget, like, if he's the beginning and the end, what's in between?
Yeah.
He all up in there. But we got to go through all of that to get to something.
To get through that
We
refining
got to.
process, man.
It's a process. We can't skip it. It's like giving birth to a child. Even if you don't carry the child and you're a surrogate mother, someone has to go through the process. You don't just rock the baby as the end result. Like, you have to go through the development of it all. So many times, even as the child's born, like, we want to run. You ain't learn how to crawl or walk. And even in the crawling and walking, there's steps of falling.
Yep.
So we have to learn anything you're doing, it's a process to it. We didn't just get here. And if we realize that as human beings, looking at other successors or people, they had to go through to get there. We expect a hand-me-out of the fruit. I want the inheritance. Someone had to go through something to get the inheritance. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thankful to be connected with Christ, to know, like, you went through all that for me. Of course, I owe you it all. Yeah. Because I couldn't imagine going through half of it, of what you had to go through to get to this end result. And so it's just more so of us giving grace to know, like, people are all going through it. And let's stop beating folks over the head like a freaking hammer with the naked mole rattle, or, you know, whatever it is in the ground, and let them sprout up. Like, don't let's play peekaboo. Like, let's let them see what it is, like, what's about, and let's help them get out of the pit, pull them up. I can't go in there with you, but I can pull you out, and we can go somewhere together. It's like Harriet Tubman, and I'm gonna quit rambling, but we don't realize it. Like, I honor her because she had enough strategy to say, because I made it out, I'm going to help someone else out. And she kept making it out. So when we go through processes and we come out of a thing, it's okay to go back, not to just to go back as far as looking at the people on the sideline saying, I'm going back to get somebody else out. I'm going back to get, and keep going. That's the process. Everything we go through is for somebody else. I didn't go through half of my life experience just for self, to hold it in. Like, I went through it to help somebody else come out. It's all about coming out. The only way through, and the only way out is through. You have to go through it to get out of it. Going through a storm, you got to drive through the storm to get out of the storm. You just can't
dropping.
You know what I'm saying? You can't. The cloud is gonna go like this. You have to go out. You have to go through the storm to get out of it. It's like driving through anything. You have to go through it. You have to go through it. You have to go through it.
Yeah, they say weather those storms, man.
You can't. There's no way of just jumping right in. You have to go through it.
So how do you feel as if, like, fast forward down your purpose in life right now, right? How are you, I guess, doing your due diligence to help those others, whether it's, like I say, one person, two person, or a group? What do you think your path is of doing
Being
that?
authentic, saying you're going to fall. And I can't stop you from falling. I can only be here to help you up.
Yeah.
We're trying to stop it all, like the whole thing, like, and to be the hero. Like, everyone's trying to play the next hero, the next big thing. Like, we're all small. I'm gonna say this.
Let it out.
It's gonna be like,
let it out.
So you know how, like, God is the God, like, he's the God of it all, right? So he's the healer, he's the doctor, he's the lawyer, he's the judge. Everybody else who fall in the category, like, he's even a architect, he's an artist. Everyone underneath him is practicing it. So people who name a doctor, they're practicing medicine. He's the ultimate healer. If you follow his path, you can probably tap in and get the real result. The artist who's a painter, if you look outside and be like, God, you're a genius. Like, I would have never thought to paint the skies this color. Like, no one's doing that. Like, what? But when you connect with him as an artist, now you see people who are dope in painting. Like, it's magnificent, but it's like they're tapped into the ultimate, like, being.
The source and not a resource.
You know what I'm saying? And so the ultimate judge, if you're doing the right thing as a judge and really being fair, like God is fair, not doing it because of color and all that foolishness, you can tap in and really get some real results. And if we all come into practice of who's the ultimate person of being and do it right and in the right order, we all can come into one body and move in parts together. But we're all trying to be the God and tell people underneath us, like, yeah, do it my way or no way. And we're making these blueprint books, but your book ain't really holy. Like, it's here to come and it's going tomorrow. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, and I'm saying that to myself. I'm not speaking to other people. I'm speaking it to me. Like, I have to always remind myself, like, I'm in practice. I'm practicing. People practice medicine. That's why they don't know every cure. They're practicing medicine. Things like laws change. They're practicing. Everybody, when you get to that high level of education and doctorate, it's still a practice of something. You're not perfect. Like it's all being changed and perfected to be what it's supposed to be. It's a practice. We're all practicing. When you get that metaphor, you realize that you're like, really? It ain't gonna never be perfect. No. So stop killing yourself and doing other things because you have to realize, like, give yourself grace.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing right there.
Give yourself grace to know, like, I'm not gonna kill me off. I'm gonna come into the agreement to say, you know what, I'm gonna practice with you, God. As long as you the ultimate of everything, you gonna take me along.
Yeah. That grace is a key to a lot, man. That's what a lot held me down. Just like you say, what you just said is nobody's perfect.
Nobody.
Like I can't remember the exact scripture, but just saying as far as like how no sin is worse than the other. But of course, here in this earthly realm, we judge that a lot. As far as somebody may say,
it's foolishness. It's religion.
yeah, like, see, as if people would say, okay, this person went to jail for murder, and this person went to jail for stealing this and that. Oh, this murderer is worse than the guy who stole this and that. But it's just like we did wrong. You know what I'm saying? Of course, looking at it, you took somebody's life, you stole a piece of candy. But we know wrong is wrong, right? So a big thing when people see all the police killings, the society, this and that, and when some say, pray for the police, help them, people like, why y'all praying for them? And they should kill them. And da-da-da. But it's just like, they're human. Some do have ill will, but I guarantee if you go home and you had this magical mirror, you can look in the mirror and look at all you did wrong, add that up and see does it add up to that one thing that person did. You know what I'm saying?
But that's also a part of scripture. Like the measure you give is the measure be given onto you. You know what I'm saying? And so if you only can give a little bit of grace, or you can only give a little bit of love, or you can only give a little bit of forgiveness, you can't expect anything more.
Yeah.
Because whatever you measured up to is what you're gonna get measured to. And so with me, it's kind of like not keeping tally, like, and realizing, not making excuses for people, but having boundaries. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconnection.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So many folks think that if I forgive them, I have to reconnect. You don't have to do that. Forgiveness is simply that. Like, I forgive you. I'm choosing to move forward. Now, I have the choice to say I don't want to reconnect again, and that's my choice. I'm not required to reconnect with you, but I do have to forgive you. I do have to say, you know what? Like Jesus said, God forgive them if they know not what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing.
Facts.
And when we don't know what we're doing, we're going to operate in foolishness. But when we forgive, we're like, you know what? I used to be there. Dang, it sucks that they're still there.
Yeah.
I forgive you, but I choose not to reconnect with you. Simple.
You speaking powerful words, man.
I choose not to reconnect with you.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm better than, I'm just different. No, like we're all on the same plane. God has no favorites. I cannot emphasize that enough. But we have this whole idea of, oh, you're less than because you did this. How so? How did Moses, a murderer, God, when he was found, God didn't even call him by that. Picked him up, put him on the right path, and he was the one who put God's laws on stones. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did a murderer not get mentioned? None of that, and he still got favor.
God seen him to be qualified.
You know what I'm saying? And so with all of the things that we can dissect, how come? How come the drunk and the adult, like how come? How come they were still favored? It's because when they got up again from their mistake, they didn't do it again.
Yeah.
So when we forgive and we move forward and we forgive ourselves, forgive yourself. We keep praying to God, oh God, forgive me. God's like, I'm not even there no more. It's you. You keep reminding me of what you did wrong. I counted it all clean.
Yeah.
So when you pick up and you keep going, you leave that behind. And anybody who's continuously reminding you of the guilt that you're no longer doing, get rid of them.
All right.
I don't want to be reminded of what I did. I did it. I'm sorry. But it's time to move forward. It's time to keep going. Now, count me accountable if I keep doing the same thing. Of course, now that's foolishness.
Yeah.
But if I'm making strides to be different and better, I'm not there anymore.
In that grace, man.
I'm not there anymore. Now, you know, like, don't make excuses for the same behavior. Make strides to be a better person. But don't keep counting me for what I did at 11 years old or in high school. Hey, buddy, I ain't that girl.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, back in the day, I was fighting, I was doing stupid, I was chasing the man, I was dick dumb, I was all the things. I ain't there no more. Catch me now.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so I think that's where we need to come to realization, like, really knowing in order to move forward, we got to forgive and let it go.
Yeah. Like you say, starting with ourselves,
Starting
move
with
on to everybody else.
ourselves.
Hey, man, you speaking some powerful words. Like, it's just good to know that there's like-minded people in the world who's on the path and mission of let's live in reality, right? Let's get rid of all this.
I'm better.
Yeah,
I'm better.
It's just like what at the end of the day, when all that is said and done, and it's time for us to transition, what is it like? What was the whole purpose? Why not just? And that's why I still don't. I mean, the whole presidential country versus country stuff is just like, why can't those men just understand? If we were all just to utilize this earth for the resources already here as one, it's just that much better and 10 times easier. But because of all this ego and I'm the big boss over this, I own this land that I didn't create or build. It's just black stuff blows my mind.
So we're gonna be here for a long time if we go down rabbit holes. But I will say this: it's all division.
Yeah,
it goes back into division. People who are not artists, you know, I tap into a little bit of different things. But when you take red and blue, Republican, Democrat, and mix the colors together, what does it make?
That red and blue.
Purple.
Oh yeah, purple.
What's God know? Like, what is Christ known for? We're being divided constantly. Vaccine versus unvaccinated. When we realize, like, hey, let's really strive to be ourselves. Let's bring folks to Christ and let them see for themselves. Like the scripture says, like, come and see for yourself. It's good. Like, the mercy is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, the endurance, it lasts forever. Like, of course I want to experience this. But if we're being a judgmental person saying, come see about Christ, he about to judge you, I ain't finna go.
Yeah.
I ain't going. I'm not finna go down that well with you. But because I know, like, God met me in my mess. Like, my mess.
The dirtiest of the dirtiest. Boy.
Like, if we really unlayer what God covered, see, like the scripture says, love covers a multitude of sin. God loved us. He covered it. We exposed it, but he covered it. So who are we to go and expose someone else's? That ain't love.
Facts.
Oh, I'm about to show, oh, I love you so much, I'm about to no, that love is when you, like, not cover in the sense of, like, saying that they're innocent, but love saying, you know what, I know, but I love you.
Yeah, anyways.
And hoping that the love that you're really giving is going to heal them to realize, I don't ever want to go back to that. Like, love people for real.
Yeah.
Their mistake doesn't define who they are. Their mistake was that I was dumb.
Yeah.
I was dumb in that moment. But thank God for grace. We only one decision away from being homeless.
Yep.
Make one wrong move. It could be you. Why are we not being graceful for that? They may have made one wrong or a couple. Who knows? But don't act like we're too far from it. One wrong thing. I mean, one wrong girl, one wrong man, one wrong
purchase,
thing.
anything. Yeah. And that's why like you say, as far as the homeless thing, now I've learned as well, of course, I picked up from the Bible. When I see one, I no longer think to myself, what they about to do with my money? It's like, that's not up to me. That's not my decision to make. It's not my thoughts to have. It's like, give that brother or sister in need, keep it moving. You don't need no hand claps, no accolades.
And quit taking your camera out to do it. Because you received your reward. The views and the likes, that's your reward. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But when you really love people for real, you say, hey, man, I know what you're going through. Here you go.
Yeah.
And you keep going. But, hey, come get this camera over here. Come. Okay, that's your reward. Congratulations. So whatever you get from the Instagram, that $3.02 for them views, because they pay you real po.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, you cheap.
Facts.
But anyway,
they just brought it back too. So yeah.
But on a real tip though, that little bit of change that you just got from it, congratulations. But when you really strive to make a change, then you realize, oh man, and then you tell somebody like she was, whatever, or he was whatever. And it's the referral, the genuine referral. And the problem with, like you said, the government is we're referring with ulterior motives. We're trying, like I said earlier, we're trying to build the best person, trying to top the other person to make everyone else beneath. When we're all in the same playing field. We're not better, we're just different.
Yep.
So when we come together to realize, like, hey man, I do need Asia. Y'all are brilliant. I need India. Y'all doctors are brilliant. I need Africa. Like, when we realize we need all the people and quit dividing them up, we'll realize we're better together than we are apart.
I'm telling you, it's like, it seems
We
so
work better.
simple, but I don't know. Who knows how it's gonna get better? We just got to keep praying for folks. It's like,
It's gonna come.
yeah,
Change gonna come.
because it's just like, man, a peaceful world is possible, but people make it so difficult and complex to where it's like just the hierarchy of things when there's only one at the top. So we're all, like you say, we're all on the same playing field, but just like having conversations like this, no matter who ears is rest upon, that's the crowd gonna get in. I hope they can continue to spread and spread and spread it. So one day it's gonna be how it's supposed to be around here. So,
but that's the part of us moving. Like us today, we're dropping this podcast, and we can't stay here to watch the views. We got to keep going.
yeah.
In hopes that whenever it reaches the right person, when they get whatever they need from them, they're going to share it with their friends.
Yep.
Like, ooh, this was good. And that's how it keeps going. It's that one thing to say, I did it, job well done. Let me not be a monitoring spirit for my own blessing. Let me not monitor my own blessing. Let me let God work. Have you ever realized most overnight success happens overnight when you sleep, when your hands is off of it? You wake up and like, how did it happen? It's because you had no parts of it. You can't say I did nothing. It's like I'm flabbergasted because I can't understand how. Because God's like, you finally took your hands off. Now I can get to work.
That's the understanding of the real deal, understanding of let go and let God. Like
it's not a scripture though, but yeah.
It took me a while to understand just that saying of like what it really meant to like just surrender all that stuff. It's tough to do, of course, if anybody's in the beginning of their journey, they walk in faith with God. But it's like once you clearly just know, like, bruh, you've been kept, or sis or whatever, you've been kept all these years. It's just stop stressing so much. And some of these things that you may be stressing about, look at the parts you played in and stop blaming other folks and or God, like, why this, why that. Like, just literally continue doing what you're doing, make better decisions, live a better path, get closer to God, and just trust it. But it's tougher for some people.
No, it's God's strategy. The devil don't test your character. God does. God wants to see who you are, if you are who you say you are. What we're going through is God saying, are you who you say you are?
Yeah.
Like, are you about it for real? Like, are you really who you say you are? When you give yourself all these titles and roles and all this and all that, are you who you say you are? The devil don't care to test it because he don't want you to be it. It's
Facts.
God. So we give too much credit to the wrong person.
Facts.
God is doing it. It's strategic. He wants to see if you are who you say you are. That's it.
Good info. Here.
That's it.
Jesus Christ, good info. So look, real quick, right? So this is what I want you to do. Because again, we don't know who may listen to this podcast, who may be watching this podcast, and who may know you, who may know me. But there's some little boy, little girl, some grown man, some grown woman who may say, hey, I needed this and want to learn from it. So if you can, right, within your journey of life, within what you've been through, give them word of encouragement or some advice of how to either, one, get on that path and that walk with God, no matter what it looks like, no matter where they're at in their life, what season they're in, and two, how to just keep going and staying focused on whether it is starting a podcast or whether it is starting a charity, but just also keeping God in between, but just try to give them some of that, just fill them up as much as you can and give them that encouragement.
I would say the sun and the moon did not have sex to make you. So quit believing in the moon and the stars and the astrology. They ain't make you. Get to know the source. Like, get to really know, like, man, who did all this? Get in your word and really find out. And then go see for yourself. Like, it's good to hear from mama and daddy and all that, but you won't know, like, who's doing what until you really tap in yourself to learn for yourself. And so learning your self-identity, actually taking the time to say, okay, I like this and I don't like this. Don't follow mom and dad's path. Find out what you like and then go after it. And in the moment you don't like it anymore, it's okay to say, you know what, I tried. It's reached this end, dead end, and keep going. Don't get caught up in trying to force an outcome when it's a dead end. Move along, like, keep going, reroute. But we have too much time. We have all these lives to live. You can change your career. Be a doctor for 20 years and change and say, I want to be a teacher or I want to, whatever that is. But don't stop because you feel like I have to make one decision and for the rest of my life, I have to live that whole decision for the rest of my life. You can change your decisions. You can change. Like, it's not embedded to be a forever. So that's what I would tell them.
That's good. That's good. So you about to get up out of here, man. Like I said, it was a great conversation. I know for a fact it was a lot of value in it, whether somebody stayed for the first 5 minutes or the last or whatever.
Right.
it's filled with a lot of gems. So before you do leave, like let the people know, do you have any announcements, what's coming on next with the podcast and that, and also where can they find you on social media?
More to come. I like to move without announcing too early, but you can find me on my social media at T_Gomillion. That's GOMILLION. On my podcast, I do not ask for likes or subscribes or anything because God told me like they'll come and see for themselves. So if you find the podcast, kudos to you.
Amen to that. So once again, y'all, this was In Here the podcast. Another great conversation. Again, just thank y'all for coming back week after week after week. And until next time, it's Sir Gates, and we are out.